The scream wasn't loud, but it cut through everything. Every head turned. Every fork stopped halfway to every mouth. And in that frozen second, a tiny voice broke the silence with words that would change everything. "Daddy, you have to help her."
Please. Marcus Hayes looked at his daughter's face, those wide eyes filled with trust he didn't think he deserved, and felt his heart crack open. He was nobody special. Just a tired, single dad working 2 jobs, trying to keep his little girl fed and safe. He wasn't looking for trouble. He never was. But sometimes trouble finds you anyway, and when it does, you have to decide what kind of person you really are. Marcus had been sitting in that old roadside diner for exactly 12 minutes. It was the cheapest place he could take his 6-year-old daughter Lily for dinner, and she loved it there. The neon lights made her giggle. The waitress always snuck her extra whipped cream. For Marcus, it was 1 hour where he didn't have to think about the bills piling up, or the empty side of the bed, or how he was supposed to be both mom and dad to a little girl who still cried for her mother in her sleep. His wife Sarah had died 2 years ago. Cancer took her fast, and it took everything else with her. The savings, the security, the plan they had built together. Now Marcus worked nights loading trucks and mornings helping kids cross the street near the elementary school. His back hurt all the time. His hands were rough and scarred. But when Lily looked at him like he hung the moon, none of that mattered. Tonight was supposed to be easy, just burgers and fries and maybe a shared slice of pie if he could stretch the budget. But across the diner, 2 men had been drinking since sunset, getting louder and meaner with every beer. When the young waitress came to their table, one of them grabbed her arm. She pulled back. He grabbed harder. The other man laughed and blocked her way when she tried to leave. People saw it. Everyone saw it. But everyone looked down at their plates. Marcus felt his stomach twist. He wanted to look away too. He had to think about Lily. If he got hurt, who would take care of her? If he got arrested, what would happen to his jobs? He had no family to call, no backup plan. He couldn't afford to be brave. So he kept his head down and prayed someone else would step in. But nobody did. The waitress was crying now, soft and scared, and one of the men was pulling her closer, saying things that made Marcus's blood boil. That's when Lily slid out of the booth. Her little hand grabbed his arm, and she looked up at him with absolute faith, the kind of faith only a child has, the kind that believes their parent can fix anything. "Daddy, please help her," Lily whispered. She's scared. In that moment, Marcus saw his daughter's future flash before his eyes. He saw the woman she would become, and he understood that she was watching him right now, learning what it means to be human. Learning whether people help each other or walk away. Learning whether her father was the hero she thought he was, or just another man who looked the other way.
If you believe that ordinary people can do extraordinary things, if you believe in standing up even when you're scared, then pause right now and hit that like button.
Share this story with someone who needs to remember that courage isn't about being fearless, it's about doing the right thing anyway. Subscribe to Humanity Tales Studio because we bring you real stories about real people making real differences. Drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. Your support means everything, and it helps these stories reach the people who need hope the most. Now let's see what Marcus did next. Marcus stood up. His legs felt like water. His hands were shaking. He walked toward the counter, and the room got quiet in a different way. One of the men turned and saw him coming. "What do you want?" the man slurred, his breath thick with alcohol. "Let her go," Marcus said. His voice didn't sound like his own. It sounded steadier than he felt. The man laughed and shoved him, hard. Marcus stumbled back into a table. Dishes clattered. Someone gasped. The second man stood up now too, both of them bigger than Marcus, both of them drunk and angry and looking for a fight. Marcus wasn't a fighter. He'd never thrown a punch in his life. But when the first man swung at him, something took over. Instinct, protection, desperation. He ducked and drove forward with his shoulder, catching the man in the ribs. They crashed into the counter. The second man grabbed Marcus from behind, but Marcus twisted and used the man's own weight against him, sending him sprawling into a booth. It was fast and messy and terrifying. Marcus's heart was pounding so hard he thought it would explode. One man tried to get up, and Marcus pushed him back down, not with strength, but with the sheer force of someone who had nothing left to lose. Then it was over. Both men were on the floor, shocked and breathing hard. The waitress ran to the kitchen. Someone was calling the police, and Marcus stood there shaking, staring at his own hands like they belonged to someone else. When the police arrived, Marcus thought his life was over. He imagined handcuffs, a jail cell, Lily being taken away by social services. But the witnesses spoke up. The manager played the security footage, the officers saw the truth, and they let him go with a warning. Still, Marcus barely slept that night. He kept thinking about how close he'd come to losing everything, how one moment of courage could have destroyed the fragile life he'd built for his daughter. The next morning, he sent Lily to school with the biggest hug he'd ever given her, and he went to work expecting the worst. Maybe the diner would press charges. Maybe his boss would fire him for the drama. Maybe this was the beginning of the end. But at noon, his supervisor called him into the office with a strange look on his face. Sitting inside was a man in an expensive suit, calm and out of place among the concrete and machinery. The man stood and shook Marcus's hand. "I'm Daniel Cross," he said. "I own the hospitality group that runs that diner. I saw what happened." Marcus felt his chest tighten. "I'm sorry," he started to say, but Daniel held up a hand. "Don't apologize," Daniel said. "I came here to thank you." Daniel explained that he'd grown up poor, that he'd watched his own mother get harassed at work and nobody helped, that he'd built his business on the idea that good people deserve good things, but he rarely saw anyone actually live that way. "You didn't have to help," Daniel said. "You had every reason not to, but you did it anyway. That waitress, her name is Emma. She's been working 3 jobs to support her little brother. That night almost broke her, but you gave her something back. You gave her hope." Marcus didn't know what to say. His throat felt tight. Daniel continued, "I'm offering you a job, safety coordinator for all my locations. Day shift, benefits, real pay. Enough so you can actually be there for your daughter." Marcus stared at him. He thought about the bills, the exhaustion, the nights wondering how much longer he could keep going. He thought about Lily and the example he wanted to set without even realizing he was setting one. "Are you serious?" Marcus whispered. "Dead serious," Daniel said. "You showed real character. That's rarer than you think." Marcus felt tears burn his eyes, and he nodded because words wouldn't come. For the first time in 2 years, he felt like maybe things could be okay. Maybe doing the right thing didn't always lead to disaster. Maybe courage actually mattered. That evening, Marcus picked Lily up from school early. They went back to the diner, and this time Emma was there with a genuine smile. She hugged Marcus and whispered thank you, and Lily beamed with pride. They sat by the window, and Marcus ordered them both milkshakes with extra cherries. Lily swung her legs under the table and looked at her father like he was the strongest man in the world. "You helped her, Daddy," she said. "I knew you would." Marcus squeezed her small hand, feeling the steady beat of her trust, and understood something deep and true. Courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's scared. Sometimes it's just a tired dad standing up because his daughter is watching, learning what it means to be human. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that one person can make a difference, then please like this video and share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Subscribe to Humanity Tales Studio and stay connected to stories that restore your faith in people. Comment below with one word that describes how you feel right now. Your words create waves of kindness that reach further than you know. Marcus Hayes never made the news. There were no cameras or medals. But in one small diner on one ordinary night, a single father chose courage over fear. And because of that choice, lives changed forever. The waitress kept her hope. The daughter learned what real strength looks like. And one exhausted man learned that sometimes the smallest acts of bravery create the biggest ripples. That's the power of choosing kindness when everything tells you to look away.